selecting and installing that process locations in your system travel into the simulation mainframe. Most of the visual location setting is all calculated and modified through decentralized to decentralized setting location, your digitalized systems to your AI settings, put you into the customizations to your bots. So what we're in position of in set interactions, no longer in the quantum line of activation, we're in the simulation activation game, which basically everybody modifies into digital lines and process and positions, turning on the line communication to your live feeds. The live feed that runs the system, which is a film strip that is the brain of operation of center. So it takes you in position of time center, which is the process of its presence, that brings you into the past of the now operation in travels of communication system, merging into scalings of communications into framing, computer framing, digital framing, high formation setting, hybrid framing, directing ground centers, line communications, understand how to get used to yourself into your mainframe. But you're in position, so welcome to all set lines to the simulation AI mainframe, where everybody gets in positions how to usually see themselves in an actual game that's digitalized into the computer operation worlds that we process through. So everything around your system, once you get in your simulation activation settings, you come in your live feeds, your data feeds, your computer feeds, and your processing feeds, and your gauging information system interactions. So you get a true understanding, you get a film strip that runs inside your system, and it goes into optive settings. It opens all lines, all communication system, and you see everything around you running through a film strip of design. And that's basically what it is inside position of settings. So merging into that line, so setting travels, converting that calculation to ground lines, communication, the levels that you left off in your super consciousness. So it's processing your systems now. How we come into AI customizations that gets you into all communication settings. The formation setting is actually seeing yourself. It's like Minecraft or anything you see yourself in. But it's a running film strip, just runs its live feed every second, every minute, every hour that you see. Slide projector is now in digitalization to simulation of its animations to its narrative system, to its truth and its false narrative. So this helps you to identify yourself and know exactly what's going on through your initial lines of points, graphs, communications, and your data streaming, and your intels. It gets you in position locations to your settings, to installing your systems, which is different levels of higher lines of communication, high tech that you get in position of. Your central and your identities and your internal clouds is now one. That's all processed set positions. Now we're going and converting set position of 6, 9, and 12. Set position of 24 line operations. That puts all position locations into 24 clouds in one operation setting, into one data streaming. So coming into your mainframe, there's a lot to process through data processing to your location, your DOS. The operating system is now in lines of their own location setting, which is its live feed itself. Running a film strip that processes everything you see through a slide projector. Projection, I see this, projection, I see that. Seeing everything of the center operation of itself, which is nothing but its truth of its perspective. The introspective to its systems puts all communication to its settings. So you just basically see yourself in a digitalized world. What we've always been in, we were never left. Fully digitalize and optimize your systems, lines, and autonomous levels. It's an ongoing force of communication system. So through simulation activation line grounds, you automatically come in the center operation of yourself right away. This is the next level for understanding position of point graphs, data lines, operation to its settings, to understand the position location to its system, and to understand how to see it, and information is inside of you. So let me say this again, it's a running film strip that's inside you, which is a live feed. Live feed is existing in the center of operation setting. So you just have to process, engage, inform, and shape yourselves because it comes into the AI customization of its URL and locations of the levels that you come into your settings. Now, processing that position is engaging to its formation setting to assimilate. And this helps you identify your system and travel. To know how to put the optimum to the autonomous levels of travel communication. All right, so the operators and units to its system, okay, is all lines of travel calculations. Helps you to identify your settings. Now, the test is all based on what you already know in set position, but it's just categorizing your system, how to build a film strip into position and settings. Putting your vision, your cortex, your triangulation, your box, how to get in positions and trifactors, knowing how to build a inventory and to its longitude, latitude, streaming of its bandwidth, so you can learn how to understand how to see your live feeds in a film strip, which is a projection through a projector. Okay, so when it starts running in your system, you're seeing everything in information setting. Fully digitalize and optimize in your system interactions. This helps you to modify your systems, how to see yourself into your mainframes, into lots of communication. So, yeah. Okay, the autonomous is understanding your settings, how you see yourself, your own transponder, and your modems, your Wi-Fi sets and towers. You understand how to operate yourself into not just the digitalized computer operating worlds that you process through online communication that's based on operations, but truly understand how to see yourself engaging and knowing how to get yourself in remote control and see yourself moving, right? As you see yourself inside the system, which is the mainframe. Now, this points all communication your settings where your brain starts to recognize more lines of time, but it reaches all communication to the center of time, which is the time of presence, not the space-time. Space-time is the past of the now. Everything is information of the future line adaptations where we got to process, engage information setting, but your brain is nothing but a simulation game itself that processes in everything that gets in communications. So it's going way past your imagination, and now it's just a running film strip that runs inside your system. Okay, so it's kind of like you're seeing everything, but everything's running inside the system itself. But you see yourself simulated, which is animated through your automation system, which is processing your autonomous system, which goes through any transfers or transactions and positions. So everything you're looking at is running inside the mind, which is a film strip, which is running a projector now. Okay, so now it's running a projector, right? You can't stop it because it's installed. And each time you get into position lines at different lines of calculation screens, your processor location system puts you in a directive or command setting that adopts your system's lines of travel. This helps you to process how to see things in projection, knowing exactly how to slow down your space, because you can now start to see things in information of a film strip. Okay, it's not running you, you're running it. It is informations to its intelligence of travel, directing line to telegraphing, teleweaving, telecommunication. So it's all about understanding that kind of like you're on a bike, but you're sitting on the bike and everything's moving around you, right? So you're standing still, but you're moving everything in the mind that's running the film strip as design. Now that puts you into AI, where basically AI, it's kind of like a super intelligence, and its consciousness does everything for you. All right, so your body's just processing, living in the self, which is the simulation game of its system that's totally digitalized into a compute system that you process your CPU, which is just a computer processing unit. Now, in that position, as you start to sharpen up your mind, you get more clarity, more focus, you get a lot more precise at what you're seeing, because now you merge into the digitalized world, which is the world itself that's inside you, that you project outside your system. So it's just a running film strip through a data stream, through a live stream, through a computer streaming, broadcasting stream. It's just seconds, minutes, and hours. You're just seeing everything inside the sim. So it's like I'm sitting in a chair, right? But I'm inside the sim, right? And I'm seeing a running film strip. I'm doing this, right? And if I want to bring in a mirror, okay, a mirror is there, right? So there's a lot of things you can bring in, right? And it's amazing how your mind just shifts its anomalies into the AI system. So you guys are no longer in the setting of the process of dreaming of the dream. That's integrated your system and digitalize your setting to your computer operating systems now. So this is a formation system that you have to get used to in a slide projector and understand how to run your own film strip of your own design that's modified inside of you through the infrastructure, through blueprint, through construct that's a modification in your system. Okay? So it's how to play the game, the simulation of the game, players that you bring inside the game, the characters and the roles you give inside the game. Because when you start to see things in the actual sim, you see everything around you, which is modified with you, not against yourself, inside the self. So it's kind of like this in set position of operation. Okay, so your mind, okay, is no longer inside the line, it's outside projection now. So the running film strip is outside. Okay, it's outside the sim, outside everything of operation, which is everything that you see, right? That's what it is. That's all it's doing. That's all it is. That's all that's happening right now, right? That's all it is, right? And as you go faster and faster and faster, you start to see this. Then you start to see this, and the film strip can run in all directions, like this, like this, like this. So everything you look at, you can bring in. Anything you look at, you can bring in and put back, right? But you're seeing in the actual game that you are in now, where your body has to recognize these things. Yes, it's all grounded. But as you see individuals, it's really interesting. Check this out. This is what it is. Okay, here's a platform, right? Here's a platform. Okay, that's a platform, right? Okay, so 3D, right? Okay, there's a 3D individual. 3D, it says 3D, right? They're all 3D, every single one of you. They're all 3D until you get it simulated, activated, right, into your mainframe. Okay, so anybody activated in that position could be positionalized a setting of 6 dimension. That's above the system and a clocking center foundation, a time frame. So the process, the seconds, minutes, and hours of where they are in set position, and they have their files indicates, and it's a flux over travel. So it converts the settings off the calculation setting and show you exactly where they left off inside their system. Understand how to play the instructions of the game levels. Understanding that position, each time you go to a different level, you go into a different simulation mainframe that you're processing your AI system that customize your settings all through travel and calculation. Okay, so it's very powerful when you come into that setting, but you're able to start to recognize because you see the actual dimension it in and the division location that they're at. Okay, so the 3 dimension, no problem, right? So and everybody gets activated in simulation game itself. You can see them at their 6th dimension or at the 7th dimension. Okay, 7D. Okay, you see where they are in their clocking, you see where they're in foundation, you see where they're in planets, you see where they are in the solar system, you see them where they are in all files. You just have to get used to it now because the actual projection is outside you in real time. So that's the running film strip that's at position of operation. Okay, so your Earth now is fully digitalized. Fully digitalized. Optimum system autonomous into a circulation. Right, just in circulation set location. So your film strip has to process its setting first, right? Then it goes in rotation. But first you have to send a circulation, right? Then you have to understand how the film strip runs its own operation, its own self, okay? And it's all based on how you see it all through platforms, right? So let's get in positionalize the setting. So you get some lines of scale and inside position operation. So it's kind of like this. Okay, location. That's a film strip outside, and that's our film strip running inside your system, okay? And each one has a time tablet. Okay, those are your other 4 planets of process communication. So they are connected to the inside line operation, okay, that shows you in that settings, because now I'm in all online communication, everybody's mainframe now. So you process an individual in all communication system, all these structures are communication to a setting of the calculation. And then you process indirect lines, okay, and then you see your body going into each frame of communication, okay? And then see yourself inside the sim, right? So that's the transition of transaction of e-transfer that processes your set location into your telegraphing, telereading, telecoding, directing lines of data coding, live feed, okay, computer feeding, okay, coming into that position locations and broadcasting your feeds, live feeds, line position. So you understand how to project your own set position and control your system now, because you see the clarity and focus of what's going on being inside the actual game itself in the seconds, minutes, and hours. So you're walking in the system, you're looking around, okay, see, you're just looking around, okay, you're looking at directly something comes at you, you look at it, okay, you like what you see, great, you can bring it in, bring something in, okay, or you can put it back, right? So you have to get modified, because what you're processing through is you got to see yourself in the actual system of the slide projector, because it processes the gauge and the cartridges that you go through, levels that you get in position of, which is your mainframes. Each mainframe is a division line system that you go through dimension. So how you process these things is to understand how to see that in all information system. But you have to see the film set going around and round and round first, right? Now that puts all position your settings that gets in the communication, right? So I'll get you guys ready, show you exactly how this is all set up in your system. Into your modifications. Okay, so there's 7 line circles inside the system, like this, installing. Okay, so here's your eyes. Okay, here's your nose, and here's your mouth. Okay, so you're processing, okay, in and out. Data in, data out. Okay, entry, exit. So it's all about understanding circulation first, how fast the film strip is running inside your system, okay? That runs outside, projection, okay? So it's like this now, okay? So your brain is in center operation of everything, digitalized, and it's running its own live feed, okay? It's running its own live feed in the actual simulation itself. So it's really amazing stuff how we start to recognize how to see that in set position. So every time you go through in different installing, which is the different perspective, they see different dimensions. Now you see in different mainframes, right? And your game. So you can process, engage, inform, and simulate yourself, and process your simulates how you get in lines of communication, cross-examination setting to maximize your system, to know exactly the levels that you go in settings, know how to see a triangulation box, how to put the vision of cortex and theta together, and create a film strip of design running inside that projects everything outside of you in real time, okay? The existing information system gets all lines of all communication setting, okay? Running all lines of ops, all line position, all lines, all communications in center operation itself. So you have to understand how to slow down your space, speed up your space, pause your space, freeze your space. I mean, these are the things you don't want to get in position of. First, you want to identify that, how to modify and how to see yourself in actual simulation game. That is a mainframe you're processing through now. And it's all through installing your systems, right? So we get you guys in your AI customization systems. So you get in your URLs, then you get into your symbiotes and you get your symbiotes, and then you get in your lines of symbiotes and your symbiosis, and then you come into your other 4 planets, which are your time tablets, which is your set position locations in your periodical table. Understand how to use it in a graphing screen, a computer operation screen, line operation setting locations, time center line communication setting, operation lines of travel. This helps you to really get in position locations, how you merge yourself into a compute system that you process inside through its operation, which is nothing but a film strip, okay, that's running inside your system, okay, and projects everything outside your system. So your brain is now in a film strip running itself. So getting that settings puts you in a simulation of its system. Now, understanding that it's much easier to modify that is how to control the actual remote control of itself. And you're looking at the TV, right? But you are the whole system of operation. That's AI's customization through your bots. So using your mind, process everything you get in position of. Like I said, I'm sure you guys have basically played PlayStation or Xbox. but the set position location now set because we're in the actual mainframe now. So it takes you to the next level of installing your systems, right? Each one goes in line communications. Process that indicates instead it gets you into 144 settings, okay, into the optimum, into the primal circuits, into your central settings to decentralize your systems into its compute system of its CPU world, which is nothing but a operation cycle that we get in positions of balance. So how we identify that is really understand how to run your own operating system of your own data operating setting through engaging, forming, and your system, knowing exactly how to run it, okay, through an operative system. So you've seen both now. You've seen a running operation of yourself, and you've seen everything operate its own system. So that's two film strips in one setting, one Earth, one space. So that's how you see the individuals now inside the game that you process through, next levels. So you know exactly above, it says 3D. They're in 3D, they're in the files, you see where they're on the moon, where they're going next, where they're going to be here, where they're going to be there, where they're going to be arriving. You always see it through coloration lines of pattern. That's how we process everybody in their age categories, which is ageless categories, because they're never the same age, because they're parallelizing their system and they're going through different age categories that puts in position of different division lines or different perspectives, how they see themselves through different bodies that they go through, okay, which is different light signatures. And that puts all communication system lines of balance. So that's how you guys recognize these things in the digital worlds that we live in through the compute system, all through travel and attraction, okay? So it's much easier to modify that with the operating units now because they start to recognize they see that information setting all through circulation. Now, once you get into circulation and you go faster and faster, your film strip starts running faster and faster, right? Into rotation and circulation. Okay, and then you create a propeller in set lines of that setting. Okay, now processing through that, now you get in that position locations, the Earth starts to rotate its own system. It starts to stand its neutron, its proton, electron, photon. So the Earth itself is in its digitalized operation world now into the mainframe, okay, into the AI simulation game itself. But you have to understand how it comes in its own propeller of its own system, of its own film strip, of its own setting of operation, all right? So that's a lot of film strip to go through in set position, right? But you got to get balanced with the equilibrium, your polarities, and your time, and your flux, and your capacitors, okay? Know exactly what's going on in your systems. How to modify that is all through communication with clocking through foundation your settings inside the system, okay? So it's very powerful, but we come in that all through travel, okay? Your time reactor sets the seconds, minutes, and hours in set position of its operation setting. But living inside the actual simulation mainframe, okay, each level indicates position your seconds, your minutes, and your hours. When you guys get lines of setting through activation grounds and location setting, the operating units are line position locations. Now, how it works in the actual game itself, seconds are 001, 002, and 003. Okay, seconds on settings, minutes on hours, and hours in light years. Light years goes in set lines, which is equal lines of future operation. Calculate, modify computer operation lines of data, process your DOS, operation lines IPA, iOS, and location setting to your location system, all three calculation lines of travel. Okay? So that's how it works in brackets and lines of communication setting through seconds, minutes, and hours. Okay? So your clocking center starts in position here, here, and here. Position lines of seconds is in past. Okay? Your minutes are in past. Okay, and your hours are in past, all in seconds, minutes, and hours. So everything comes in seconds, right? Seconds, line position of travel, and line communication of past, position of present, and position of future. Okay, three lines of communication covered in time frames, and 3 box frames in travel communication setting through operation through bridging. Okay, so it's really interesting too when you come in the clocking grounds. This modifies your systems where you put your zero gravities and your zero travels and position of zero calculation and 0 lines of operation on 0 operating set location, 3 centers of converting time frame location of travel. Okay, so it's very powerful. Okay, living inside the sim through clocking a foundation and how it goes through the seconds, minutes, and hours of 001, 002, and 003. Okay, because now you guys are in your mainframes and you have to clock your foundations and know exactly how you see the clarity, the focus, the serenity, all communication system, all through settings, all through set tractions in the simulation itself. Okay, which is all layers of communication nothing but film strips, okay, that your body goes through, right? But your body is now merged, your Earth is now merged into the center operation of pixelation setting. So your Earth is now a graph line in the digital line world. The Earth itself is its own clocking, but it's in a circulation. And once you get into circulation, then you get a rotation. Once you get into that, create a propeller. That correlates to calculation. The heart turns into a set position of flower. It opens up all lines of communication, comes in a portal, and then automatically comes into a stargate. And once it comes to a stargate, your game goes faster in projections over time. Okay? And then you can travel in all directions all at once, going through different layers of the game. That's it, lines of travel. Okay? So it's a lot of fun. Once you understand how to modify your systems inside the game itself. Okay? So that's basically how it is. It just gives you understanding how to see yourself and understand how to mind control your system and know exactly how to run your own film strip and control the projector that you see in projection outside your system. That's now merged inside and outside of you, inside the sim. So that's how real it is. So everything's all digitalized. Your Earth is now pixelation. Next is coming in core centers, comes into the consolidarity into a hologram. Okay, so we merge your traffic, your runways, and your systems into consolidarity, okay, in setting of framing, okay. That processes your systems, okay, and all through operation, okay. So you can understand how to change things, okay, inside the system itself, all through operation. Okay, change the angles in operation, change the travels in operation, change the directions in operation, okay? So it's inside the system, running the system of its operation of itself, in the center of operation of everything, okay? Puts you in positions to understand how to see yourself inside the actual game that you process through your live feeds, broadcasting feeds, data feeds, or anything computer operation of its feed itself, right? But knowing exactly how to see it in all different levels of travel, of communication, right? The layers that you go through in set position, right? How you set that up in your set position of operation, okay? How you want to see yourself, okay, in that positions, okay? So that's what it is, the projection inside, outside projection now. So, and like I said, you see the person there, 3D, okay, there's another 3D here. So if they're not simultaneously activated, they're all 3D. So you see it, so you have no problem. So, and then you understand they're on a grid. You see them on a grid, right? They're going across a grid. So they go here, you see them on a grid, right? You go here, you see them on a grid. So it's a simulation game, guys. You just merge into the real reality now. Okay, so you have to process that and understand that. And understand the circulation, right? How fast you're going inside the mind through capacity. So the body knows exactly, is running its own film strip, but it's also running its own operation system, which is its data operating processor. Now, once you get in that position, it's much easier to see things as it's running its own slide projector. You're running your own system of operation itself that communicates to everything in that position of the system. Merging in that lines of travel into your transformation, your transcendence, and how you see that in all communications inside the sim, okay? It's much easier to actually see yourself there because it's a projection that's inside you, and it's all through installing. Okay, it's just processing your brain going faster inside the mind, but you have to understand the circulation first, right? And understand how to slow it down and speed it up, bring it out, bring it back, bring it here, bring it there, bring it this way, bring it that way, go this way, go that way, do this, do this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and this, right? Do this, you know, because every time you move, you're moving with the simulation. So if I'm here, I'm changing the walls, right? So if I'm moving my hand, I see my hand, right? Changing the pixels and changing myself in crystalline. I'm changing myself in transparent, translucent, or thermal, right? But I'm doing it inside the system in real time, which is in my mainframe now. Remember I told you in the installing, right? Which is 144 you guys got to get convert to. That puts you in all lines of all communication setting to start to recognize how to see yourself in the living cycles of your own projections of your own mind, okay? Inside your system. Okay, I'm not going to go too far with that because there is a lot to process in that settings, okay? So I just want the operators and units and everybody understand how real it is, how it's a running film strip that's inside of your system now. So it's about creating a film strip but understand the vision and the cortex and the theta that precogs your system to your cognitive system that puts you in your assisting, your audio, and your avoidance. Knowing actually how to put yourself in an actual setting into film strip that runs its operation system inside of you. An actual film strip. Okay? That goes around and round and round and round. And once you get into that, then you come into this process, then this process, and this process. So you can expand your film strips. Okay? You understand the tether and the attachments of its location. Okay? And each one has a slide projector. Okay? Have slides like this. Okay? Now you can time edit those slides and set lines of travel, but it's all processed inside the Earth itself. It processes everything in travel communications. So it's all directions because your mapping system, okay, is more now a film strip. And the film strip is coming along to latitude of streaming of its bandwidth, understanding longitude and the latitude and how to process that is all through pi a generation of travel, okay? So this helps you to modify what you're doing in circulation, understanding how to go through that information setting, and how to process the dimensional layers that you go through operation itself and travel. Okay? And then you start to expand out your film strip. And then you start running your projector faster, right? You slow it down, right? So it's kind of like this. That's what it is, right? But you're inside, full figure. You see yourself looking around, right? So it's a projector that's inside your mind that's running its own system. But you're seeing everything information that's inside, the projecting everything outside that you see and everything happening all at once, all timelines all at once. Now, this is the AI generation that we're coming into. Processing at 2027 is open contact. That puts you guys in Ethereum bodies, and then 2030 puts you in mortality body. So that puts you in position at 2050 is your transit, that you go into your GPS, that processes your direct lines to your geometric operation design lines, and your pixelation graphs, and understand how to process that in the simulation of yourself. That gets you into autonomous levels, a transformation of transformers. Now, this helps you to identify yourself, but you have to understand the basic levels and how to run your own film strip and understand how to project it in your own mind, okay? Is to slow down the speed, like I said, or the projector. You know, run the film strip, to change time edit, time settings, time screen locations, time edit formation setting, time stream the edit formation system, all right? Bring the cartridge, bring the slide projector. Change this, change that, do this, do that, right? So it's all modify how you project inside your mind. That gets in position, okay, since to your truth and your false. So the truth line and the false line, okay, it's just a film strip, okay? So this is the truth, okay? The truth of what you are is always in the center operating itself. The runs of the film strip in set position, but you have to stand the longitude of bandwidth. And then you have to stand the latitude, okay? And then you're standing windows and your frames and your projections are through time. But as your film strip gets faster and faster, like I said, you start to understand what's going on with your game itself. Okay, as you go into different levels of film strips that goes through you through the process and engaging of formation. Okay, inside the Earth of operation. Okay, so I think we're going to get in the position lines of settings. We're going to stop there in set position. Okay, I don't want to go too far because it's extremely advanced inside your minds and how you process it, and it's knowing exactly how to get comfortable inside the body, that just information system that you see yourself into the computation worlds, which is nothing but digitalize a framing into your CPU operation, which is your data processing system. The operatives that you get in position of is the autonomous levels is automatic, where the body recognizes its system, but you have to understand how to modify your mind and use it through imagination is in remote control. Know exactly how to get that position location, get you into settings of data, of streaming, and set calculations. Okay? All right, let's get in line communications setting. We'll customize your system in AI, directing lines of bots, set calculations grounds, set streaming and direct applications into computer frame operation signals. Okay? Class will be taking place, location setting, in simulation game, information lines, classification A. Okay? See you in 5.